New Yorkers, they're rude, they're crude, they don't give you any time, no one's friendly when you walk down the street. I don't get that.
No,
I don't
it's
get
not
that at
true.
all. I actually love the
That's a huge
people.
misconception.
He had fame, fortune, and a dream life millions envied. Yet behind the charming smile and picture-perfect success of Property Brothers, Drew Scott was hiding a truth that nearly shattered everything he had built. On television, he was the face of optimism, the man who turned broken houses into dream homes and made it all look effortless. But the world rarely sees what happens when the cameras stop rolling, when the lights fade, and when silence fills the spaces success once occupied. Before he was a TV icon, Drew was simply a man chasing big dreams, constantly balancing ambition with uncertainty. He made millions believe that transformation was possible, not just for homes, but for lives. Yet few knew that behind those flawless renovations and polished interviews was a story marked by loss, resilience, and an unrelenting fight to hold on to the things that mattered most. This is not just a story of fame or fortune. It's a journey through heartbreak, struggle, and redemption. From humble beginnings on a small ranch in Canada to international stardom, Drew's path was never as smooth as it seemed. Every smile concealed a scar, every victory came at a cost, and every success carried echoes of the battles he fought behind the scenes. Today, we take you beyond the spotlight into the world of Drew Scott to discover the emotional truth behind the man who built an empire, one renovation at a time. It all began on April 28, 1978. In Vancouver, Canada, the day two identical twins, Drew and Jonathan Scott, came into the world. Born to Jim and Joanne Scott, they were destined to live lives shaped by equal parts imagination and hard work. Even as babies, there was a sense of purpose about them, as if the world already knew these two would one day leave their mark. Their father, Jim Scott, had once lived a life that seemed straight out of a movie, because, in a way, it was. A stuntman and actor in Hollywood, Jim had tasted the thrill of fame and the chaos that came with it. He knew the glittering side of show business, but also its emptiness. Seeking something more grounded, he walked away from that life to build a home far from the cameras, a ranch where discipline, honesty, and integrity would become the foundation for his children's futures. From Jim, the twins inherited the spark of performance, the love for creating, entertaining, and expressing themselves. From Joanne, they learned the power of structure, education, and organization. She made sure that her sons understood the importance of discipline, reminding them that even the brightest dreams need focus and effort to take form. Life at the Scott household was never dull. Their days were filled with creativity and curiosity, from helping around the ranch to inventing small adventures in the yard. There was always something to build, fix, or explore. The twins' bond grew stronger with every shared challenge and laugh, creating a connection that would later define their careers. While other children were content with toys and cartoons, Drew and Jonathan were fascinated by how things worked. They would take apart gadgets just to see if they could put them back together. Their home was their first classroom, where creativity met structure, and every mistake was simply another lesson in disguise. The Scott parents raised their sons to dream fearlessly but work relentlessly, a combination that would later become the secret behind their success. Jim Scott believed deeply in teaching his sons the value of earning their own way. When Drew and Jonathan were just 7 years old, he began assigning them small chores, not as punishments, but as opportunities. Whether it was helping mend fences or cleaning the barn, each task carried a simple lesson. Effort brings reward. But it wasn't long before the twins decided to go beyond household chores. At 8 years old, they launched their very first business, making and selling nylon-wrapped hangers. It was an unusual venture for children, but the Scotts were never ordinary. They handcrafted the hangers with patience and pride, then went door to door around their neighborhood to sell them. With polite smiles and fearless enthusiasm, they introduced themselves to strangers, offering their handmade products for a few dollars each. Some doors closed on them, others opened, but with every sale, they learned what it meant to connect, to communicate, and to persevere. Their big break came when one woman, impressed by their determination, placed a bulk order. It was a small victory, but for the young boys, it felt like winning the lottery. That order lit a spark, a realization that with creativity and effort, they could shape their own destiny. This early venture wasn't just about money. It was their first real lesson in business, understanding customer needs, building confidence, and handling rejection without losing heart. The nylon hangers might have been simple, but they represented something far greater. The beginning of two lifelong entrepreneurs discovering their potential. At home, Joanne continued to balance this entrepreneurial energy with education. She reminded them that school mattered just as much as business. Under her guidance, they learned to juggle both, to think big, yet stay grounded. Those hangers were more than a childhood project. They were the blueprint for everything the brothers would later achieve. As the twins grew older, their energy seemed limitless. While most teenagers were preoccupied with sports or school events, Drew and Jonathan were already searching for their next challenge. Their curiosity turned toward entertainment, not just watching it, but performing. Before fame, before real estate, there were birthday parties. Yes, the future stars of Property Brothers began as clowns. They trained themselves in balloon twisting, magic tricks, and juggling, performing for children's parties around their community. The gigs paid modestly, but they offered something far more valuable: a stage. A chance to entertain, make people laugh, and learn how to capture an audience's attention. For Drew, performance wasn't just fun, it felt natural. His tall frame, warm smile, and quick wit made him stand out. Around this time, basketball also became a passion. His athletic build and dedication made him a strong player, and for a moment, the dream of playing professionally felt within reach. But life had other plans. A series of injuries forced Drew to step away from the court, a devastating blow that left him adrift. The future he had imagined was suddenly gone. Yet in that disappointment, another door quietly opened. Drew began exploring acting, inspired by his father's Hollywood past. He auditioned for small roles, eager to learn and gain experience. Soon, he landed appearances on shows like Breaker High, Madison, and even worked as a body double for Tom Welling on Smallville. These weren't headline-making roles, but they were stepping stones, chances to study sets, directors, and the intricate craft of performance. He paid attention to every detail, how actors moved, how scenes were framed, how timing created emotion. Drew wasn't just acting. He was studying success from the inside, but he also learned that entertainment was unpredictable. Auditions could vanish overnight. Opportunities could fade without warning. Realizing that passion alone wouldn't pay the bills, Drew turned back to another skill: real estate. He and Jonathan had already dabbled in it during their university years, buying small properties, fixing them up, and renting them to students. It was steady, rewarding, and, most importantly, theirs. By balancing acting with property investing, Drew created a safety net. He could chase his dream without losing stability. This practical mindset would later define his career, the blend of dreamer and doer, performer and businessman. When Drew and Jonathan entered the University of Calgary, they already carried with them a mindset few students shared. While their classmates were focused on assignments and exams, the twins were thinking about income, independence, and opportunity. Their first major venture began when they spotted a neglected house near campus. Most people saw decay. They saw potential. Pooling their limited funds, they bought the property and decided to renovate it themselves. From repairing walls to replacing fixtures, they poured time and effort into transforming the space. Once the renovations were complete, they rented the rooms to fellow students, and almost overnight, their first investment turned profitable. That success gave them confidence and motivation. They realized they had stumbled upon something powerful: the ability to build wealth through creativity and effort, not privilege or luck. Over the next few years, the brothers continued to buy, renovate, and manage more properties. Their partnership was perfectly balanced. Jonathan had a natural talent for design and construction. Drew excelled in business strategy and negotiation. Together, they turned each struggling property into a success story. However, their journey wasn't without frustration. Many of the realtors they worked with lacked the efficiency and communication they expected. Drew, unwilling to rely on others, decided to get his own real estate license. This move gave the brothers full control of their projects, from purchasing to renovation to selling. By their mid-20s, the Scott twins had built a small but thriving business, Scott Real Estate, Inc. Their name became known for integrity and results. They weren't just young men flipping houses. They were professionals carving out a reputation through hard work and precision. Through this, Drew continued to nurture his passion for entertainment. The fire never went out. It just waited for the right moment to ignite again. Real estate provided stability, but his heart still longed for the thrill of storytelling and connection. He didn't know it yet, but the two worlds he loved, property and performance, were about to collide in a way that would change everything. In 2006, Drew made one of the boldest decisions of his life. Leaving behind the security of their Calgary business, he moved to Vancouver, determined to chase his dream of becoming a full-time actor. Jonathan stayed behind to manage their thriving company. At first, everything seemed promising. Vancouver's film industry was bustling, and Drew believed he was on the verge of something big. But Hollywood dreams often come with harsh realities. Auditions were rare, roles were few, and money disappeared faster than it came. Soon, the stability Drew once enjoyed began to crumble. He found himself facing mounting debt and uncertainty. For a while, the man who had built homes for others was struggling to keep his own dreams intact. It was a humbling and painful chapter. But instead of giving up, Drew did what he had always done. He adapted. He reignited his real estate career in Vancouver, using the same determination that had carried him through tough times before. Slowly, he began rebuilding his financial stability. Each small victory reminded him that perseverance was stronger than any setback. During this time, Drew also continued collaborating with Jonathan and their older brother, JD. Together, they launched Davidian Production Group, an independent production company aimed at creating film and television projects. Even when the acting roles were scarce, Drew stayed close to the entertainment world, producing, networking, and learning how the industry truly worked. The years that followed were marked by quiet resilience. Drew was juggling two worlds, real estate for income and entertainment for fulfillment. It wasn't easy, but it taught him balance, patience, and humility. Every closed door became a lesson. Every failure was simply preparation for what was coming next. Because what waited just around the corner was an opportunity that would finally merge his two greatest passions and introduce the world to the Scott brothers in a way no one could have predicted. By the late 2000s, television was searching for its next big hit. Reality shows were dominating screens, but producers wanted something fresh. A show that mixed emotion, transformation, and authenticity. Around that time, a concept called Realtor Idol was pitched, inspired by American Idol, focusing on real estate agents competing for recognition. The idea never took off. However, the production company Cineflix saw potential in a new direction. They reimagined the idea as My Dream Home, a show where families could find and renovate their perfect house. Drew, with his real estate background and natural charisma, was an immediate fit as host. The producers initially planned to pair him with a female co-host who specialized in design, but Drew had a different vision. He knew exactly who could make the show stand out, his twin brother, Jonathan. With Jonathan's renovation expertise and their natural chemistry, the combination was undeniable. They didn't just complement each other professionally. They shared a lifetime of trust, humor, and unspoken understanding. The moment the brothers appeared together on camera, everything clicked. Viewers instantly connected with their warmth and authenticity. They weren't actors pretending to care, they genuinely did. Their banter felt real, their teamwork effortless. Property Brothers was born. The show quickly grew into a global phenomenon, turning the Scotts into household names. Yet behind every episode's laughter and success, Drew never forgot the road that led him there. The setbacks, the uncertainty, the debt, the relentless grind. Property Brothers wasn't just a show about homes. It was a story about second chances, about how determination and family could rebuild anything, even a dream on the verge of collapse. Drew's journey from a struggling actor to an international star wasn't fueled by luck. It was built on resilience, faith, and the belief that every wall, no matter how damaged, can be rebuilt stronger than before. As Property Brothers gained traction, Drew and Jonathan Scott quickly became household names across North America. Viewers were drawn not only to the stunning home transformations, but to the brothers' charisma, humor, and authenticity. Their chemistry was undeniable, a perfect balance of professionalism and playfulness that made audiences feel like they were part of the renovation journey. What started as a modest home improvement series soon turned into a global phenomenon. Within just a few seasons, Property Brothers aired in more than 150 countries, translated into dozens of languages, and became one of the most watched home renovation programs on television. Drew's natural ability to connect with families, to understand their dreams and concerns, paired seamlessly with Jonathan's design brilliance. The two didn't just fix houses. They helped people rediscover hope, stability, and pride in their homes. Their fame opened new doors. In addition to Property Brothers, the duo launched several successful spin-offs, including Buying and Selling, Brother vs. Brother, and Property Brothers at Home. Each new series added depth to their brand, showing different sides of their personalities and skills. Drew often led the business and negotiation side, guiding homeowners through budgets, mortgages, and logistics, while Jonathan took charge of construction, creating designs that blended practicality with beauty. But behind their growing empire was a relentless work ethic. The Scotts were not content to rest on television success alone. They established Scott Brothers Global, a multimedia company overseeing real estate ventures, design projects, and digital content. They launched a furniture and decor line, Scott Living, bringing their aesthetic directly into consumers' homes. What had begun as two brothers renovating local houses had now evolved into a multifaceted international brand worth millions. Yet, amid the glamour and the success, Drew Scott never lost sight of the values his parents instilled: humility, hard work, and family. He remained grounded, often attributing their success to teamwork and the unbreakable bond with his twin brother. But as the spotlight grew brighter, life off-camera became more demanding. Fame came with pressure, exhaustion, and the hidden costs of maintaining perfection in an industry that never stopped watching. While career milestones continued to pile up, Drew Scott's personal life began to take shape in a way that surprised even him. In 2010, during a Property Brothers event, Drew met Linda Fan, a creative and compassionate woman whose calm energy balanced his fast-paced lifestyle. Linda worked behind the scenes in television production and immediately understood the demands of Drew's world. Their shared interests, creativity, travel, and philanthropy created an instant connection. Their relationship blossomed quietly, away from the cameras. While Drew was filming, Linda often helped manage production logistics and supported his growing business ventures. Over time, she became an integral part of the Scott family, not just personally, but professionally. Fans admired their dynamic. She wasn't just the wife of a celebrity, but an accomplished, independent woman who shared Drew's vision for meaningful work. In 2018, Drew and Linda tied the knot in a breathtaking ceremony in Italy. The event was featured in a special episode titled "Linda and Drew Say I Do," allowing fans a rare glimpse into their private world. Surrounded by family, friends, and breathtaking Tuscan scenery, the couple promised to balance love and ambition with grace. Marriage brought Drew a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. But even as his personal life flourished, his professional obligations grew heavier. Between filming multiple shows, overseeing business ventures, and constant travel, Drew's schedule became increasingly punishing. The physical toll of exhaustion and the emotional strain of constant public scrutiny began to surface. Linda often encouraged him to slow down, to take time to breathe. Drew, however, driven by perfectionism and responsibility, pushed himself harder. He felt the weight of expectations, not just from fans and producers, but from within. For someone who had built his life on success and control, vulnerability was difficult. Little did he know, life was about to test him in ways that would shake his foundations. The cheerful image of Drew Scott that millions saw on screen masked a reality few could imagine. As Property Brothers expanded into new seasons and spin-offs, Drew found himself caught in a whirlwind of endless commitments. Long filming hours, constant travel, and business responsibilities left little time for rest or reflection. The more successful he became, the less personal space he had. Public attention brought opportunities, but also scrutiny. Every social media post, every interview, and every appearance became part of a brand he had to maintain. Behind the warm smile and professional composure, Drew began feeling the quiet strain of burnout. Friends and family noticed subtle changes. He was often tired, distant, and overwhelmed by deadlines. While Jonathan managed to find creative release in construction and design, Drew carried the burden of negotiations, logistics, and business strategy. The pressure to keep the empire running, to live up to fans' expectations, began to take a toll on his mental and emotional health. Even during filming, there were moments when Drew had to mask deep exhaustion or personal worry. The camera demanded energy, optimism, and charm. But off-camera, he struggled to recharge. The constant need to appear cheerful made it harder to admit when things weren't okay. Like many public figures, Drew feared that showing weakness might disappoint his audience. Linda's unwavering support became his anchor. She reminded him that success meant nothing without balance. Slowly, Drew began acknowledging the toll fame had taken on his well-being. He started talking more openly about mental health and burnout, using his platform to remind others that even those who seem to have it all face silent battles. Just as Drew was beginning to regain his balance, life delivered a shocking blow, one that reminded him how fragile everything truly was. In late 2021, a sudden health scare struck close to home. A member of the Scott family faced a serious medical emergency, forcing Drew to put his projects on hold and return to what mattered most: family. Though he chose to keep details private, those who knew the Scotts said the event deeply affected him. Drew had always been the calm problem solver, the one who thrived under pressure, but this was different. No amount of planning or negotiation could control what was happening. It was a period of uncertainty, sleepless nights, and reflection on what truly mattered. The experience brought back painful memories of his father Jim's health struggles years earlier. Watching someone he loved suffer shook Drew to his core. For the first time in decades, he felt powerless, stripped of the confidence that had carried him through business, fame, and television. In interviews that followed, Drew spoke about how that period changed him. He described it as a wake-up call, a reminder that no amount of success could replace health, peace, or time with loved ones. The near tragedy prompted him to step back from constant work and reevaluate priorities. He began spending more time at home with Linda, focusing on mindfulness and mental wellness. Drew also became more vocal about using his influence for good, promoting charities related to children's health, housing, and family well-being. The ordeal, while painful, rekindled his compassion and deepened his purpose beyond fame. From humble beginnings in Vancouver to international stardom, Drew Scott's story is more than just a tale of success. It's one of resilience, reinvention, and heart. What began as two curious twins selling hangers door to door evolved into a global empire built on creativity and integrity. Yet beneath the wealth and recognition, Drew's journey reveals something more profound: the cost and beauty of chasing dreams while staying true to oneself. Today, Drew continues to expand the Scott brothers brand alongside Jonathan and Linda, exploring new areas like sustainability, home design innovation, and digital media. He has learned to balance ambition with empathy, turning his platform into a source of inspiration. His advocacy for mental health awareness and family connection shows how his experiences, both triumphant and tragic, shaped a wiser, more grounded version of himself. In a world obsessed with appearances, Drew Scott's life stands as a reminder that success is not just about fame or fortune, but about perseverance, love, and purpose. He remains the same imaginative boy from Vancouver, still dreaming big, still building, still believing that every setback can become the foundation for something extraordinary. And though the world knows him as a star who builds homes, perhaps his greatest renovation has been within himself, rebuilding his life, his values, and his heart, one day at a time. As Drew Scott's fame reached new heights, his focus began to shift from personal success to purposeful impact. Having achieved what many only dream of, wealth, recognition, and influence, he started using his platform to create meaningful change. Deeply aware of his privileged position, Drew wanted to give back to the very communities that had supported his journey. One of his most passionate causes became affordable housing. After years of helping families find their dream homes on television, Drew recognized a painful irony. Countless people could not afford a home at all. He began collaborating with organizations like Habitat for Humanity, not just lending his name, but physically participating in builds. For Drew, giving back was never about publicity. It was about rolling up his sleeves and working alongside volunteers to provide shelter for those in need. Beyond housing, Drew and Linda both became active advocates for mental health awareness. After facing burnout and personal challenges, Drew realized how critical emotional well-being is in today's high-pressure world. Together, they supported charities focused on mental health research, therapy accessibility, and educational outreach. Through interviews and social media, Drew spoke openly about the importance of slowing down, checking in with loved ones, and seeking help when needed, breaking the stigma that often surrounds mental struggles. He also extended his influence into environmental sustainability. The brothers' design brand, Scott Living, began prioritizing eco-friendly materials and responsible sourcing. Drew understood that home building and renovation could leave a heavy environmental footprint, so he pushed for innovations that reduced waste and encouraged conscious living. His belief was simple. A home should not only nurture its owners, but also respect the planet it stands on. Through his philanthropic and environmental efforts, Drew Scott transformed from a television personality into a global advocate for positive change. His compassion, humility, and sense of responsibility reminded people that fame means little unless it's used to uplift others. While many celebrities become complacent after achieving success, Drew Scott viewed his career as a constantly evolving journey. He never wanted to be confined to a single identity, not just a TV host or a real estate expert, but a visionary storyteller capable of shaping culture through design, creativity, and empathy. In recent years, Drew has expanded into multiple creative arenas. Through Scott Brothers Entertainment, he and Jonathan produce documentaries, lifestyle series, and digital projects that celebrate innovation and human resilience. Their storytelling goes beyond home transformations. It explores the deeper emotional stories behind people's lives, dreams, and struggles. Drew's ability to combine heartfelt narratives with stunning visuals has redefined what home and happiness mean to audiences around the world. Drew also began mentoring young entrepreneurs and creatives. Remembering how his father encouraged experimentation and perseverance, he started speaking at universities, industry conferences, and creative summits. His talks often emphasize adaptability, how setbacks, if embraced properly, can become stepping stones toward greatness. Whether discussing real estate, production, or life philosophy, Drew's message remains clear. Success without passion is hollow, but passion guided by purpose can change lives. As digital media reshaped entertainment, Drew adapted effortlessly. He built a strong online presence, using social platforms not just to promote shows, but to connect authentically with fans. Through podcasts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live Q&A sessions, he shared insights into his creative process and personal life. Fans saw not just a celebrity, but a genuine human being who celebrated progress and learned from imperfections. This adaptability became one of his greatest strengths. It proved that Drew's story wasn't just about building homes, it was about building connections, ideas, and inspiration. His evolution reflected a truth his father once taught him. You can rebuild anything, a home, a dream, or even yourself, if you're willing to put in the work. Looking back at his remarkable journey, Drew Scott stands as a symbol of modern perseverance. From a curious boy crafting hangers with his twin brother in Vancouver to an international television icon, his path has been defined not by luck, but by relentless drive, creativity, and an unbreakable family bond.